You found yourself on another edition of Let 'em Know Kings at a 313. And on today's episode, the Sacramento Kings get an ugly win, but a much-needed win nonetheless against the Portland Trailblazers. The Detroit Pistons had the Bucks on the ropes, but suffered another epic collapse late and a sloppy night in Oklahoma as the Thunder sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll break all that down on today's edition of Let 'em Know Kings at a 313. Let's roll. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the place to be, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Pistons from the D. This is Let 'em Know Kings in the 3-1-3. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another edition of Let 'em Know Kings in a 313, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Detroit Pistons, and Sacramento Kings post-game reaction podcast. And I'm your host, Scarlett Weisberg. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to today's show. We got a hell of a show coming up for you today. Just a friendly reminder, you can find Let 'em Know Kings in a 313, which is a 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, and wherever else you want to listen to the show. Give the show a follow on the platforms if you can, please. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'em Know Kings in a 313 a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this show on. It is a great way to support Let 'em Know Kings in a 313, and I appreciate every single one of you that tunes in to the Let 'em Know Kings in a 313 podcast. Well, the last couple of episodes, I have to admit to you that I've kind of lost my lid the last couple of shows because, and I'm not just saying a bunch of, I'm not dropping a lot of bombs out of out of all frustration. I mean, yes, there's some frustration to it, but it's passion in the sports game because as a passionate sports fan like myself, you gotta have some passion when you're watching the game. Kind of like when we're watching the Sacramento Kings, Detroit Pistons, and Cleveland Cavaliers. We got to have passion for the game, win or lose. And the Sacramento Kings finally got the monkey right out of their shoulder. They finally got a much needed win, 121-118 in overtime in a ugly, grimy, and gutty victory, in the words of Mike Brown. I mean, at this point, if you are a Sacramento Kings fan, you're like, I will take a win any way we could get it at this point, because for the Sacramento Kings, they're coming off probably one of the worst two-game road series in a long damn time. I mean, it's one thing that we lose one game to Houston, but to lose two in an embarrassing fashion without De'Aaron Fox, it was embarrassing. It was almost pathetic at this point. It was almost like, how can I watch this team after they lost 2 in a row to Houston, a team that we should have won? And yes, I'm going to say it, we should have beat Houston twice, or let alone, we should have split the Houston Rockets. But that's of the past. But now, the past is out of the way. Let's talk about the future. And the future was that the Sacramento Kings got an ugly, gritty, grinded out kind of win in overtime to a Portland Trailblazer team that I think, again, we overlooked. We overlooked teams that we're supposed to beat. And now, Portland, look, I got to give Portland credit, all right? I got to give the Portland Trailblazers credit, especially a couple of guys. Skylar Mays, he balled out for the Portland Trailblazers in this game, as well as Jeremy Grant, where he nearly dropped 40. But about the Sacramento Kings for a second, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried for Sacramento. I'm not worried about their defense, okay? I think their defense is far improved compared to last year, because last year it was all about the offense, right? It was all about one of the most electric offenses that we have never seen in the NBA. Unfortunately for the Sacramento Kings, they do not hold that title on offense anymore. That offense belongs to the Indiana Pacers, which absolutely looked impressive against the Milwaukee Bucks last night, despite the fact that the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo dropped 54. And Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers still beat Milwaukee. Impressive by the Indiana Pacers. They hold the best offense in the NBA right now. Sacramento, they don't got an electric offense yet. It's still early. It's still game 7 in the season, so I'm not pushing the ring the alarm button, but I am panicking just a little bit. I'm panicking a bit because if the defense is improved, the offense is lackluster, especially three-point shooting. I mean, Matt George of Locked On Kings, which, by the way, I love him. I love his coverage of our Sacramento Kings. I encourage everybody to check out that show if you haven't done so already after this podcast. But he said that some people call it an early season struggle, and he's calling it a trend. Matt George, I agree with you, my boy. There is a scary trend for Sacramento that I'm a little concerned about. I'm a little concerned about their offense. More specifically, the three-point shooting. I mean, you didn't have De'Aaron Fox for like the 5th or 4th straight game. I don't even know how many games that De'Aaron Fox missed. Keon Ellis got a surprise start tonight. A surprise start. And I think he looked pretty solid, but the two guys that I was really impressed for Sacramento, Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. Malik Monk was absolutely clutch. He was clutch, especially in the free throw line. That second half, he was nearly perfect. Actually, he was perfect for the foul line in that second half. And Domantas Sabonis finally played a really good bounce back game. He needed it. He needed it after the scolding I gave him for the Houston losses. He desperately needed it. But Jeremy Grant had a season high 38 points. You got to give credit to him. Because Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Skylar Mays balled out for the Portland Trailblazers. Unfortunately for Portland, Sacramento is a veteran team who knows how to win. And I remember one of the New York Football Giants, Rashad Jennings, in one of the locker room pregame speeches. He said, we got two options. You either win pretty or we win ugly. But either way, a win is a win for Sacramento, and that's all that matters. It wasn't pretty. It was too close to comfort, but you know what? If you are a Kings fan, and if you're listening to this right now, you will take a win any way that you could get it at this point. It was a grimy, gutty, and ugly win, says Mike Brown. Had a lot of really good performances from a lot of guys. Finding a way to win in a situation like this was a lot of fun. And it was. It was fun seeing that this game didn't have to be pretty, right? Sacramento got off to a really good start, especially in the first quarter, but they slagged off in the second half. One of the other trends that I'm worried about is Sacramento is, yes, finding ways to win games. But when you have a lead, right? When you have a lead, I don't care if you're playing the Golden State Warriors. I don't care if you are playing the Portland Trailblazers. I certainly don't care if you're playing the Milwaukee Bucks or tonight's opponent, the Oklahoma City Thunder. When you have a lead, You're gonna have to learn to sustain a lead. And I think Sacramento has not learned that yet. We haven't sustained a lead since the first game of the season against Utah. I mean, I appreciate the win. I appreciate us finding a way to win. But we need to do a better job of sustaining leads when we have them. But what I'm also really happy about is Kevin Huerter finally getting his shot back. But I'm a little bit worried about Keegan Murray. And I mean, Keegan Murray last year as a rookie set the rookie record for most threes. But this year, especially this game, damn, he couldn't hit water if he turned on the faucet. He was that terrible shooting-wise. But luckily, for Keegan Murray and the Sacramento Kings, Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis stepped up. Monk finished with 23 points and 10 assists to help the Kings snap a 3-game skid. Monk was 4 of 16 for the floor, including 0 for 7 for three-point range, but he finished 15 for 19 from the line, hitting 15 straight after missing his first 4 free throws. He drained 2 foul shots to tie it at 111 with 8 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Blazers were talking to me when I missed the 4, Monk said. So I was just waiting for a moment when I could shut them up. And Malik Monk, you smoked that Portland pack, especially from the free throw line. Chauncey Billups said about this loss for Portland, they had their chances. This happens in a season. There's some games that you win that you probably should have won. You shouldn't have won. There's some games that you lose that you probably should have won. And this is one of those games, just didn't have enough. The Blazers were also shorthanded with Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simmons, Robert Williams III, and Malcolm Brogdon out of the game. Actually, Brogdon left in the first quarter due to an injury, and Malik Monk and Sabonis stepped up, and especially with Malik Monk, Mike Brown was very pleased with him. He had a huge game for us, and he found a way to get something done. He attacked, and he got to the free throw line. We needed every single one of those free throws, and especially against a team like Oklahoma City. I've seen Oklahoma City a couple of times. A couple of times already, I've seen them sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to grill the Cleveland Cavaliers in just a second. I've seen them win twice against Cleveland, and I've seen them against the Golden State team, which they should have won, to be honest. I'm still going to contend for the Oklahoma City Thunder that they should have beat the Golden State Warriors. But they got some talented guys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is balling out. Lukas Dort, that I just got on my ESPN fantasy team, is having a wonderful start to the season. They got Isaiah Joe that can dot some threes. Chet Holmgren, who looks like an absolute stud, and this is his rookie season. We need De'Aaron Fox back. Now, as of this recording, I don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, I like our chances to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. It might be another ugly, gritty, grind them out kind of game, but I will like our chances even more if De'Aaron Fox plays. If De'Aaron Fox does not play, then I don't know what's going to happen with the starting lineup. I would put Malik Monk in the starting lineup with Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Domantas Sabonis. If De'Aaron Fox plays, then I would put him in the starting lineup, De'Aaron Fox is. I don't care if he's limited, right? I don't care if he's coming out of an ankle injury. I don't care if he's limited for this game. I need to see number 5 on the floor for the Sacramento Kings in order for us to win this game. If he's on the floor, I'm confident. If he's not on the floor, we might have to step up again. But I'm confident that the Sacramento Kings will step up. And I believe in our Sacramento Kings to get a big-time win against a really good Thunder squad that are 5-3 coming in to tonight's game, which will be at 10 o'clock Eastern, and there will be the first game of the in-season tournament for the Sacramento Kings. I'm really looking forward seeing the court for Sacramento in the in-season tournament. I hope it's better than the Indiana, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Chicago Bulls home courts. But anyway, the stats for this game, Portland did a much better shooting percentage, 50% for the field compared to 46% for Sacramento. The threes, 29% for Sacramento. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried with the three-point shooting. It is a bad trend right now that the Sacramento Kings, I believe, will fix, but they're going to have to work on it. The free throw percentage, 73% for Sacramento, 76% for Portland. The rebounds, 50-36. Good job by the Kings there. The points of the paint, 58-50 in favor of Sacramento. The turnovers, 21 turnovers for Sacramento compared to 18 for the Portland Trailblazers. I'm a little worried about that too, because there's some possessions on offense for Sacramento that they sometimes don't value the ball a lot. They don't set anything up on offense. But there's a lot of guys that stepped up for Sacramento, especially with Domantas Sabonis, 27 points. He had 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He almost had a triple-double in this one. Malik Monk, really huge right out of the bench, 23 points with 10 assists. He had a double-double. A 6-rebound game for him with a steal. Keon Ellis, 4 points with 4 rebounds and 3 steals. Pretty solid for a first start. Keegan Murray, 9 points, but only 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. But he also had 7 rebounds and 3 assists and 2 blocks. I need you to step up on the 3-point line, my guy. Kevin Huerter, though, he got his shot back with 17 points with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 4 for 9 from 3-point range. As far as the Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant with 38, 9, and 5. DeAndre Ayton with a double-double, 18-10 with 2 assists. Shaedon Sharpe, 18 points with 3 assists. He is going to be a really special talent in the years to come. Skylar Mays balled out of this game with 18 points, 11 assists, and 2 rebounds. Gritty, ugly, and a grind it out kind of game, but a win is a win for Sacramento, and you got to build on it now, but you got to focus on tonight, because if you overlook this Thunder team, if you allow guys like Chet Holmgren, Dort, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Josh Giddey, Isaiah Joe, and the crew to take over that game, Oklahoma City might make us work even harder for a win more than the Portland Trailblazers. But I'm really excited to see the Thunder and the Kings tonight. That is a playoff preview if I ever seen one. Coming up next, we're going to look at the epic collapse that the Detroit Pistons had over the Milwaukee Bucks. The Pistons had the Bucks on the ropes, but they couldn't finish it. I'm going to talk about why when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings in the 313. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings at a 313, and the tough start continues for the Detroit Pistons as Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bobby Portis lead the Milwaukee Bucks to a 120-118 win over the Detroit Pistons, as the Pistons have now lost 6 straight games. 6-game losing streak for the Detroit Pistons as Damian Lillard scored 34 and Bobby Portis added 18 as Milwaukee rallied to beat the Detroit Pistons 120-118. Now look, there are some positives that I can take away despite this loss, right? Cade Cunningham, again, he's continuing to ball out as far as scoring. Marcus Sasser, he is proving to be an absolute stud. Jalen Duren, welcome back, baby. Welcome back. He did a really good job of getting some size for the Detroit Pistons. But when you have an elite team like Milwaukee with Giannis Antetokounmpo, which by the way, and this is like the one thing that I didn't really like about this game, and I was watching this game on Amazon Prime Video a couple of times. Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best players in the NBA today, maybe one of the best in the world, the Greek Freak, as some of y'all like to call him, got a technical foul after showing emotion from a poster when he posterized Isaiah Stewart. He does that all the freaking time. And that's what's puzzling to me. That's what's puzzling to me. Giannis Antetokounmpo always shows emotion after a big play, right? Whether it's a bucket in the inside or a big-time poster dunk when he throws the hammer down. Shout out to my man AC Austin Carr. When Giannis Antetokounmpo throws the hammer down, right? He shows a whole lot of emotion. And I don't mind that emotion coming from him, right? I don't mind a player showing emotion after a big play. But when a referee is like so sensitive to that, it just doesn't belong in the game, right? Nobody paid your hard-earned money to see a referee. They paid money to see players like Cade Cunningham, players like Dame Dollar, players like Bobby Portis, players like the Greek Freak ball out for 48 minutes. The fans don't pay money to see refs like eject Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is wrong, by the way, wrongfully ejected. And Lisa Bidington from the Milwaukee Bucks broadcast crew said, what did he do to deserve an ejection? Well, Lisa, to answer your question, I have no earthly idea. I mean, all he did was show emotion after a dunk, which I commend Giannis Antetokounmpo for. NBA players have the exclusive right to show emotion after a big play. And for that ref to say, you know what, Giannis? That's too much emotion. You're out of here. It's soft. It is disgusting. And you know what? Whoever that NBA ref is, they need to go back on home training. They need to go back to home training because it just doesn't. It's not right. It's not right to eject a player of Greek Freak's caliber after a big-time dunk. It was terrible. And Adrian Griffin said it's an emotional game. He made a phenomenal play. It was exciting, emotional, and I thought he moved on very quickly. So I was surprised with the second technical, but it's up to the players to decide. Adrian Griffin also said about the win, it's another huge night as far as finding a way to win. I thought it was a gutsy victory. A lot of guys stepped up, and I want to give credit to the Milwaukee Bucks, but I also want to give credit to the Detroit Pistons. They outscored the Milwaukee Bucks 43-28 in the third quarter, and they had Milwaukee on the ropes at times. They had the Bucks on the ropes. When Giannis Antetokounmpo was out of the game, the Detroit Pistons thought, maybe we could chip away now. Maybe with Giannis out, we can find a way to win games. But the problem is you have one of the best closers in the NBA, Dame Dollar, Dame Time Lillard, whatever you want to call it, and Damian Lillard did Damian Lillard things. But Monty Williams said the third quarter was the kind of basketball that we've been talking about playing. Now our guys have to turn the page on this. It's an NBA skill to lose a game like this and have the ability to bounce back and have that kind of effort in our next outing. One of the biggest problems that I saw in this game, excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. But anyway, one of the biggest problems that I saw from the Detroit Pistons is they don't know how to solve the 2-3 zone. And I want to give credit to Adrian Griffin and the Milwaukee Bucks. They went to a 2-3 zone in the final stages of this game, and the Detroit Pistons couldn't solve it. Katie Christensen from the Sacramento Kings broadcast said, in order to solve the 2-3 zone, you're going to have to do some ball movement. You cannot shoot threes when you get into the zone. If you're open for three, you can take it. But beating a 2-3 zone means you got to get into the paint. You got to get into the paint area and maybe force the defense to collapse. And then if you're open for three, like Marcus Sasser and Cade Cunningham was, you can take it. But I think the problem for the Pistons is They cannot solve the 2-3 zone, but the injuries are already piling up, and it is a really, 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 really big problem. It is a big problem because you're already without Isaiah Livers, Monty Morris, Alec Burks, just to name a few, and now you're without Joe Harris. It is so bad that the Detroit Pistons have to re-sign Kevin Knox, who you traded and let go during the offseason. You know, I don't want to say that this is bad times, but ladies and gentlemen, it is bad times for the Detroit Pistons. I get that they're 2-7, and I understand your anger, and I understand your frustration. I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to curse them out. I'm not going to do any of that. They are a young team, and they are going through some growing pains right now. Monty Williams is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and I believe in him, and I believe in what he's doing. But for the Pistons, they just got to get healthy. That's their big issue. If they just got healthy, they can compete with anybody. But when you're shooting 49% from the field, which is a really good percentage for the Detroit Pistons, but 7 for 29 from three-point range, 24%, I mean, you're not going to do much. You're not going to do anything, especially against a team in Milwaukee that had Brook Lopez knocking down a couple threes, Damian Lillard doing Dame Lillard things, Bobby Portis, who had a really good game coming off the bench, Giannis Antetokounmpo is looking like an MVP. The Bucks are more of a complete team than the Detroit Pistons right now. I'm not talking about just the starters, but the depth. The depth that Milwaukee has is better than the Detroit Pistons, and I'm not afraid to be honest and say that. But what also Milwaukee did a really good job of, they forced 8 steals and 7 blocks, compared to just 2 steals and 5 blocks for Detroit. Turnovers were 19-10 in favor of Detroit, but the fouls 24-18. The fouls at this point, I'm not even worried about the fouls. That's not going to happen. But the one positive that I can take away as far as the stats go was the Pistons out-rebounded the Milwaukee Bucks 53-36. And I thought that was a stat that really stood out to me in a positive way for the Detroit Pistons. But again, you got to solve the 2-3 zone for Detroit. And I think Milwaukee didn't. I think Milwaukee did a better job of recognizing that the Detroit Pistons were on a hot spell to some extent, and they knew that the 2-3 zone would break them. And all credit to Adrian Griffin and the Bucks coaching staff. They broke the Pistons out of the 2-3 zone, and they couldn't solve it. Cade Cunningham, 33 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Killian Hayes had a decent game of 14 points. Marcus Sasser, he deserves to be in the starting lineup. I'm going to tell y'all this until y'all are sick of me. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists for Marcus Sasser. And a plus 10 and a plus 5? Oh yeah. He deserves to be in the starting lineup over Killian Hayes. I'm sorry. Monty Williams, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but put Marcus Sasser in the starting lineup, please. Jalen Duren, his first game back, 11 points and 12 rebounds and 5 assists. That's what you like to see, a double-double for him. Asar Thompson, he was contained a little bit as far as the scoring, but 15 big rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. He's still being productive in other ways. But if you're facing a team like Milwaukee, you got to handle depth scoring. And Damian Lillard just killed the Pistons, especially in the fourth quarter. 34 points with 3 assists and 2 rebounds, and he also had 3 steals. He was 12 for 13 from the free throw line. Giannis Antetokounmpo had a really good game after he got wrongfully ejected. 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists for him. Brook Lopez, 14 points, 4 for 6 from 3-point range. You gotta put a hand on Brook Lopez. You got to understand, and all NBA centers need to understand, that Brook Lopez can now shoot the three. Bobby Portis did a really good job off the bench with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Milwaukee is just a more complete team than Detroit. I still think Milwaukee, Boston, and now Philadelphia are contenders in the Eastern Conference. I'm not putting the Indiana Pacers in this conversation just yet. I know they're in a really good start and they're 6-3, but I think the Pacers are a little inconsistent right now. Yes, they're 6-3, but I don't see them being consistent in that pace. The Pacers, they look like a problem. They look like a problem with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. I think the Pacers are better off. I think the 76ers, I should say, are better off without that cancer James Harden, who, by the way, is not having a good time in Los Angeles. I think the 76ers won the trade of getting rid of James Harden because Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are balling out for the Philadelphia 76ers. The Pistons have a really tall task against Philadelphia tonight at Little Caesars Arena. Their first in-season tournament game in the 3-1-3. But coming up, there's one team that I am mad about. And that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Y'all just got swept by the... You know what? I'm just going to save it. I'm just going to save it for after this break. This is Let 'Em Know Kings at a 3-1-3, and we'll be right back. Final segment here on Let 'Em Know Kings at a 3-1-3. I'm going to try to keep my cool. I'm going to try to stay calm. I'm going to try to stay composed when I talk about this, but it's going to be hard for me. It's going to be really hard because the Cavs and the Thunder are personal. It's personal for me because as you know, I'm a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, and my brother... I don't know if he's listening to this show or not, but I hope he is. He is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. And when we lost the first game 108-105 in the home opener in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, I was like, okay. We could potentially get a split against the Oklahoma City Thunder and we would be all right. But the difference was we didn't have Darius Garland and we didn't have Jared Allen in the first game. We had Darius Garland and Jared Allen in this game against the Thunder, and what happened? The Thunder beat us 128-120 because we came out here and played sloppy. It was almost like the Oklahoma City Thunder were playing perfect basketball for 48 minutes, and we were playing like we just came out of the junkyard dumpster in the streets of Cleveland, Ohio. Really, really pathetic. Before I even get into it, I need to give credit to the Oklahoma City Thunder, all right? A well-deserved season sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's him. He's him, man. He's him. He dropped 43 points. 43 points on a Cleveland Cavalier defense, which is supposed to be the number one defense in the NBA. I think I might be wrong on that retrospective. Last year, we were the number one scoring defense in the NBA. This year, we're one of the worst scoring defenses in the NBA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made 15 of 22 field goals and 12 of 13 free throws. He fell 1 point short of his career high and scored at least 40 for the 8th time. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is best known for his mid-range game and exceptional ability to finish around the basket. Gilgeous-Alexander attempted just 2 3-pointers. Just two! He was deadly in the mid-range game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Deadly! He's going to be a problem for the rest of the NBA. And for the Sacramento Kings, I hope you're listening to this because I'm giving you a scouting report right now, all right? So all Sacramento Kings fans, you better pay attention to this segment of this podcast because I'm giving you a scouting report of the OKC Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said about his play, I knew that's where I'm at my best. I felt good coming in. I just wanted to play fast, play in my comfort zone, and made the right basketball play. And Thunder head coach Mark Dagnall, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing names wrong, said SGA was aggressive about finding help as he was scoring. It wasn't like he just took over and took on Cleveland. The ball was moving around and we became very difficult to guard. I want to give credit to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I want to give credit to this. They are not a selfish basketball team. They are not a defensive-minded team, like Austin Carr said. For the most part, especially early, the Cleveland Cavaliers attacked them. We forced Chet Holmgren into early foul trouble. But the problem was, we turned the ball over a lot. We turned the ball over 20 times. You cannot turn the ball over 20 times and expect to win. Donovan Mitchell, who entered as the leading scorer in the NBA at 32.5 points per game, was held to 20 points on 8 for 23 shooting. He scored 43 points in the first meeting, and I want to give credit to the OKC Thunder too, because they made key adjustments to Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs shot 50% from the field, but OKC scored 30 points off the 20 turnovers by Cleveland. 30 points from the Oklahoma City Thunder just because of 20 turnovers for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Karis LeVert, this is not all your fault. You are the only Cleveland Cavalier that gave us some spark that night. But only one guy can do so much. Jared Allen, you did decent. You did decent, all right? You were aggressive, especially early out of the gate, getting Chet Holmgren into foul trouble. But what's sloppy about Cleveland is, number one, you're turning the ball over to a team that is opportunistic. If you turn the ball over against teams like Oklahoma City, teams like Boston, teams like Milwaukee, hell, teams like Sacramento, and teams like Golden State that you're going to see again tomorrow, y'all are in trouble, bro. And not only that, but we have a bigger problem than the 20 turnovers. The 20 turnovers, I think we can fix. But the biggest problem for the Cleveland Cavaliers is the coaching. And JB Bickerstaff, this is all on you. He said this: our approach to start the game wasn't good enough. Where we were mentally and where our focus wasn't good enough. Coming out and not executing the game plan the way we did is disappointing. You know what's disappointing? You are disappointing. You are not an NBA head coach. You are a coach, but you're just an assistant. Maybe you're a college coach. You might be in the NBA, but you have a college-level IQ. You know, I never thought I would give up on a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, but you are driving me to the point because JB Bickerstaff cannot coach. He cannot. He's not hard on them, and he's not holding the Cleveland Cavaliers accountable. I would rather have Rick Carlisle from the Indiana Pacers leave Indiana and come to Cleveland. I would rather have Avery Johnson come out of the studio and come coach Cleveland. I would rather have Jordy Fernandez next year leave the Sacramento Kings, which I still believe it might happen, come to the Cleveland Cavaliers and or the Chicago Bulls, because the Chicago Bulls also need a coaching change. I think Billy Donovan is not it. I would rather have Jordy Fernandez leave Sacramento, which I think is going to happen, come to the Cleveland Cavaliers and preach some accountability. And by the way, Donovan Mitchell, I am so sorry that you are held back. I feel like, and no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell because he's one of the best players in the NBA today, I think he's been held back since he came to Cleveland. If he goes to a different team like the New York Knicks, maybe the Miami Heat next year, I don't blame him. I would not blame Donovan Mitchell one freaking bit. And then what's going to happen is the core of the Cleveland Cavaliers will be damaged because if Donovan Mitchell leaves, I think Jared Allen might leave right with him. I think Jared Allen might leave, and then what else is going to happen? Huh? I'm just really disappointed in the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you might be surprised that I'm not dropping like F-bombs or something like that. I'm just disappointed. I am just really disappointed of how the Cleveland Cavaliers played against the Oklahoma City Thunder. 20 turnovers for Cleveland. 30 points given up compared to 19 scored for the Cavaliers off of the 14 turnovers for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Thunder did a better job of being more disciplined than us. The ball movement for the Thunder was absolutely exquisite. And the Thunder have guys like SGA, Giddey, Dort, and Chet Holmgren who could just take over the game at any minute. They also got bench players like Isaiah Joe, who was a three-point sniper. I think the Cavaliers did not do a great job of understanding the scouting report. I think JB is right on this regard. They were not prepared coming into this game. I think they were riding too much of a high off a win against Golden State, and then look what happened. The Thunder kicked the Cleveland Cavaliers' ass in every single aspect of the game. Karis LeVert was the only Cleveland Cavalier who showed up with 29 points. I know Donovan Mitchell got his, but Karis LeVert was the only Cav that gave the Cleveland Cavaliers a chance to win, to be honest with you. 50% from the field for Cleveland, 51% shooting for OKC. The 3-point percentage, 42% for the Oklahoma City Thunder. You could say 43% for the Oklahoma City Thunder compared to 31% for Cleveland. The three-throw percentage, all credit to Oklahoma City, 93% compared to 73%. The rebounds were pretty even. The turnovers, like I said, 20 to 14 in favor of the Cleveland, but 30 points given up. That's unacceptable. The rebounds, or I should say the blocks, were 8 to 5 in favor of OKC. The steals were 10 to 9 in favor of OKC. The points in the paint, 64 to 60 in favor of Cleveland. The Thunder were just a better team. I hate to admit it, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The Thunder were the better team than the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it showed. Karis LeVert was the only Cleveland Cavalier who had a really good performance. 29 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 13 for 16 for the free throw line. Donovan Mitchell, he got his with 20 points with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Evan Mobley, he did all right. 22 points, 5 rebounds, assist, a steal, and a block. Strus, he got his 3-point spark back. 12 points, 4 for 6 from 3-point range. He also had 7 rebounds and 3 assists. And DG had 15. But again, if you don't contain guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 43 points tonight, he had 7 rebounds and 6 assists as well with 2 steals and a block. And Dort had a really outstanding effort for him. 14 points, 3 for 5 from 3-point range with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 3 big-time blocks. Chet Holmgren, he is a monster. 15 points with 7 rebounds and 2 assists with 3 big blocks. Wallace came out of nowhere out of the bench with 14 points. Just a complete team performance for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if you're Cleveland, you got to get your act together. You got to get your act together because you are facing a Golden State team who, yeah, you beat at Cleveland, but it's in Golden State now. And I think Golden State doesn't lose that much at home. They are good on their home floor. So I expect Steph Curry, I expect Klay Thompson, Kevon Looney, and those guys to stiffen up the pressure on Cleveland. Let's see if the Cleveland Cavaliers can respond. If they sweep against Golden State, I might say the Cavs are back. But JB, you gotta prove to me that maybe I was wrong when I said that you are not an NBA level coach. Right now, you're coaching a college level IQ. You might be in the NBA, but your IQ is in the college level. Prove me wrong, JB Bickerstaff. I bet you won't, though. I bet you won't, because right now, even though that I want the Cleveland Cavaliers to win. Give me Golden State, to be honest, because Golden State does not lose a lot of games at home. Prove me wrong, Cleveland. Just prove me wrong. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings at a 313. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Pandora, Spotify, wherever else you want to listen to this great show. Give the show a follow on the platforms. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, give the show a 5-star review, and spread the word out to your friends. I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you right back here for another episode of Let 'Em Know Kings in the 313.